Okay, cool. It's your boy, Kamal Hart on the chart. I'm going bar by bar. So in the pre-market, going sideways. It's rangy, right? We could all kind of agree that we see that range. Um, Kind of one of those days where we don't have clear highs or lows. So, you know, you got to just guesstimate until you get more information. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to start our ideas coming off this high side, looking for shorts. It's about 6 o'clock. So we get that turn down off resistance, not the setup we want yet. Here's a lower high, but since this bar breaks below, this makes this green bar the signal bar. That's too bullish. It works, but hey, whatever. Um, this bar is interesting because this is the failed second entry off this high. I think if I remember right, this bar broke above, then broke below, and then became a doji. So if you would have entered this trade and it closed like that, you want to ideally you want to scratch it, or you just have your stop loss a tick above and you just see what happens. All of this happened pretty quick though. I think this is 30 seconds, 20 seconds. Yeah, these are like 25-second bars. So this was happening pretty fast. And it kind of breaks above again, then comes back down. I actually lost money on this setup today. You know, only thing is the trade happened here and it closed the doji. So when you see this engulfing bar, it it's tempting, but you just have to really dial into your process. If your process says you can re-enter, re-enter. If your process says you need to size down, size down. Um, you should be suspect that this is going straight into the EMA. But it's one of those setups where um, if you see this and you try to go short, I could understand. Here's what saves you though, especially on the reentry. If you would have put your stop a tick below this bar, it actually does it tick below? I don't think it ticks back below before stopping out anyone who entered, right? So I think the way I entered is I anticipated the close a little bit and entered a tick back. No, I anticipated the break. And so I entered a tick back and it never broke, right? So that's really the way you not too many things you could do about losing money if you enter here other than scratching the trade. But if for whatever reason you lose money and then re-enter, be diligent to make sure it's on that stop and that it triggers, it needs to trigger. Okay, but we're gonna keep it moving. So we're starting to go sideways off this EMA level, and we're getting a push back to the highs. We break out, make a new high, and then we get this really big engulfing reversal bar. I like shorting this. It's a first entry to the lows. It's kind of a failed break above these levels. It's a little aggressive, so I can say that if you don't see it clearly or understand price action very well, uh, this trade shouldn't be in your playbook. But I like that setup just to test this EMA, and then it's just icing anything past there. Uh, okay, I missed a trade, so let's just go back and talk about it. It wasn't a tradable setup. Here's your lower high, right? We break above, then break below. That's the lower high, but it's a doji is a signal, so can't enter there. And then here we kind of get a failed break higher, failed second entry, long. It's a ugly setup because of the way it broke below then came back above. And then we don't particularly love the fact that it went higher than the higher uh, than the lower high. This swing went higher than the lower high over here. So we don't love that, but it's only by a tick, so you could consider that like a failed break higher. It's a little bit ugly. If you take this, it's there, but the way it sets up, I kind of feel like it's something that you should skip. It's too complicated, but it does work quite well, and anything you had going on over here is now completely safe. Um, but what we want to do now, it kind of looks like we might be working back to that lower side, is let's start getting our midline in there, and let's get some trends in there and see what else we get. So I'm just eyeballing it, but the midline is somewhere in here. Um, and then for my trend line, what we're looking for is we were above the EMA, we get the close below there, and a swing. And honestly, we had a swing as well right here. But I'm just gonna use these two legs for now. I get the same idea. We were above, now we're below, and had a lower swing. So this trend isn't confirmed yet. I want to see one more turn down on this swing before I make this confirmed. But we'll just wait for that to happen. So we're waiting. Here's your first entry short. It's not a good signal bar. See that green bar? And we're kind of going sideways right now. Even though we're at the trend, it wasn't a good signal for the short. But then here we get that failed break above of these levels, just for viewing sake. We get a failed break above of these levels, and that's a second entry short from this low, first entry, and then once we break below, that's a second entry. That's a good trade. That's a really, really quality trade, A plus trade. If you are uh, fully capitalized in your process, you want to have maximum risk. Off our short-term trend as well. We're coming off the highs of the range, expecting the mid test, expecting to come to the other side. Um, this is probably the first real good trade of the day. Pushes through that midline, starts to get a reversal bar. Would have got all the runners break even. If you're not managing this, carefully, it's fine. More than enough for the scalp. Um, And then here, we need to start looking at the overall process, right? Because now we have a confirmed trend. We're breaking outside of this trend. So our expectations are that we're going to test this low, and possibly make a leg down, right? So let's wait to see some movement towards the lows. Right now, this is just really just kind of going sideways. Here you get okay, here's a failed second entry um, long right here. Um, I kind of like this trade. Uh, this high swung higher than these swings, and so when we break above, consolidate, and now it kind of we're rounding off. You would want to maybe see if we're going to test these lows. And then this is back to that idea of maybe there's going to be a leg down there somewhere. So actually, I like this trade as well. Maybe a little sideways, but hey, it is what it is. Just gotta trade. I don't like how it broke below then made a doji though. That makes me nervous. And then here, you're pretty much gonna get stopped. I don't even think even if you would have tried to scratch, I don't know if you would have got filled if you tried to scratch. So that one doesn't work. The main thing The hard thing about these types of trades is like the setup looked great. Um, at this point, I already know like something's wrong. It shouldn't. It should really get going. So, but it's a little too late. So if you try to scratch, only thing you can do is tighten your stop to above this entry bar, 2 ticks above. So you can save yourself 2 ticks to the high and a tick above. You can just save yourself a little bit of money, but that's kind of when you know this trade is not going to work. It's okay. Sometimes they don't. Um, we're waiting. It's just getting really sideways anyway. Let's just hang out. Let's really focus on selling up here and buying down here. Um, but yeah, I don't care about the losses and the mistakes. I want to call out every trade I see, and we can explain. If a trade doesn't work, we're going to explain what we can learn, what we might see. So this move down is happening. The idea was valid. It was just in in these ranges, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, but when you're looking at the trade here, you have see how this doji is inside of this bar, and then this bar, the opens and closes are inside of this bar, and then this bar is also within the open and close of that bar. So that's congestion on a very, 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 very small scale. In fact, really, the difference is that this is congestion. What we see here is a range. This bigger pattern is a range. What we're seeing here is congestion, which are tiny, tiny ranges, right? So when I sell this short out of this congestion, you are you're selling the breakout. If you're going to sell something like this, I want to see it break out, come back, and turn back down. I don't want to try to get in on that first wave. So if you would have really took the time to review this trade, you could have you could have found an idea. See how that, I mean, no one can argue that's congestion. There's a doji bar and 3 bars that are basically body to body. That's the definition of congestion. But you just have to be paying attention. And I think I was being too relaxed. Um, so that's how you could have skipped that trade. Let's see. So we were over here. So now we're trying to make our move down. Let's see if we can get a measured move. Looks like we're close. I don't like how it's off screen though. So we'll see it when we see it. I think it's still somewhere down in here. Really, I'm not going to give this a trend. I'm still playing off of what this was, and all I see is there was a trend. We broke outside. Now we have a leg down. It looks like 2 legs down even to a new low. So I'm expecting reversals at some point. Um, I don't know if I was expecting it that quickly, um, but even if you know this congestion zone, when we broke out, see how there was no breakout pullbacks, we just went straight out, and now we're just coming right back to retest this congestion zone. um, and now see, like, this is like, this right here is a breakout pullback. See, this short is better than this short, right? Because we get out of that zone, we come back to that zone, and then get rejection. This setup though is a little bit sketch. It's a lower high, but it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. I'd really just wait to try to buy or sell up here. It's getting too close. It works. And now you can see almost a clear 2 legs. This is leg one, pull back leg two. Um, so let's see if we get down there. Doesn't look like we get down there. Something that I didn't notice during the day in real time is that this low is higher than this low. So when we get this pattern, you know, this is a failed second entry short off this low. And so this is a buy setup. And even if you want to think about it, you're buying in the lower side of the range at a certain point, since these two lows are pretty close to each other, in fact they're matching lows, you might even want to tighten it, and then that fits all this support over here, and that makes it where these were just kind of false breakouts. I'm okay looking at my range like this, and that just means my midline is probably somewhere up in here, maybe not that high, somewhere in here. So my midline is probably actually somewhere in here, and I'm getting some support off these lows. Now, this is an engulfing bar on the failed second entry short, which is fine. That's fine. But if we're going to count this as one low and this is just a higher low, this is an engulfing bar higher low, those sketch me out a little bit. Um, so might be a little aggressive, but this is a good play. This is a good trade. And it almost, I mean, talk about being a little aggressive. It literally, if you manage this any other way than us, then your stop loss one tick below, you get stopped out. And that's a hard thing because this bar, 52.25 to 50.25, a lot of times, if I get in and the bar is exactly 2 points, I just leave my stop loss on the very lows. Like I don't typically expect it to come test. So this is one of those trades. It would have came, stopped you out, but not breaking below, and then came back up. So if you manage it any other way, you get stopped on this one. That's why if it's too big, got to start getting better at entering on limit orders back in the wicks, on the wicks of the previous bars. So then you can actually get enough room to bring your stop back down or back up. So you're saved. You don't get stopped out. Um, if we're looking for trends, though, let's take note of we're below, above, and we made a new swing. So there's a trend. So we're going to have a trend, a little smaller trend somewhere in there. It's a Friday and the Lakers are playing, and I live in Los Angeles. So if you're hearing the bass and the room shaking, it's because everyone is lit. I'm gonna be lit too once I finish this video. I'm definitely watching the game, but if the audio isn't as good, that's probably why. Right here we have a failed second entry short. I really, 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 really like this trade. Look how this channel is holding prices perfectly. This is our third bounce off this trend channel, so that confirms the trend channel. We're getting close to that midline. That's a little sketchy. Um, but in general, this is a solid setup. I don't need to think too hard about entering on this one. Takes a little bit to go, but it goes. And let's talk about runners, right? Because this is a trade that I could have managed my runner a lot better on. If I have a runner, I'm going to be looking for a couple different exit points. I'm going to be looking to exit, first of all, on a touch of this high side of the channel. I want to look for an exit on the range high side. And if for whatever reason, we end up at the highs, uh, then I want to exit at the highs, right? So I have three kind of targets working up. And of course, I kind of have a trailing stop. I have a set stop at break even plus one. So if it comes back down there, I'm out, whatever. And I have a trailing stop when price action catches up of the EMA. So right now, if we're still in, we've gotten pretty close to the target one. So let's see if we should cover. If I get a red bar at, see, like it's not a terrible idea to cover your profit right here. But since we're in the money and in a channel, let's leave it at break even plus one or below this bar. This bar, just one tick below that bar. Um, and let's see if we can get a swing. See right there, it it tests it, but it doesn't break below. I didn't know it would do that. You just get lucky sometimes. So it's either at break even plus one or below this this bar. See, then right here you get a second entry long, and look how perfect this one is. This second entry long sets up inside the trend line. That's sorry to nerd out, but to see a second entry long within the channel like this is spectacular. Like that's really rare. I don't like it because it's going sideways and we're on the upper side of the range. So I'm not trading it. But if I had this runner, I'm really excited right now. Takes it a while to get going. And then once we break the highs of these ranges, I want to move my stop to one tick below this bar. That's the next swing. So I just move it one tick. And then now we're getting that range touch. So now that's target two. Um, I definitely want to be covering more of this move. I don't want this thing to pull back all the way to the EMA or back to my stop. So I want to cover more of this, but I do think I need more information. And see, that's the type of information I love. So what I would do here is, okay, now that we've exceeded my second target, I want to cover this. Like, I don't want to let it come up here and pull back on me and none of that, right? So the bar that closes above my target, I want to cover. So I'm moving my stop one tick below this bar, one tick below this bar because that was the bar that broke through the range, and I want to get as much of that as I can. Now we get a big red reversal bar. With this, your expectations are just like, yo, we're probably gonna get stopped out. I don't know if you necessarily need to move your stop any closer. I don't necessarily need a perfect exit. I just want to see how much it's willing to give me, and as it gives me, I'm just going to cover as much of it as I can. So I'm okay leaving my stop here. This reversal bar is a signal, though, in that it will probably start heading back to this EMA. But I'll probably just leave it right there. Just, if it wants to give us one more push, fine. Just don't go below this bar. And it does. So you would have got stopped out. Um, um, and that's how you can kind of manage this runner and really get pretty close and let the market do all the work for you. Um, I bring that up only to display an idea. Um, so let's say you extend this channel, right? We had a slight break outside on this side, and then now we broke outside on the low side. Since we're at the range highs, I think we're expecting prices to come back down, but we also have this trend, so we need to just see how prices respond. Really, all that's going on right here is we're going sideways, right? It's a little higher or double bottom, but we're just going sideways. Breakout lower, but I just treat that as a breakout. It'll probably fail, but then when it makes this small bar, um, it's too aggressive to be buying. But this looks like a long setup, and it does. It works like a long. Um, I pretty much that's the day. I was really trying to explain something with this runner, but it didn't close the way I thought it would. Because typically, what people do is, you have a runner, and then you say, hey, if it comes back to the EMA, I'm going to exit if it comes back to my EMA. Typically, you want to see it close below the EMA, and it actually never closed. So in this instance, the simplest strategy would have worked pretty okay if you were patient up in here. And that's the thing why we sometimes go through the trouble of managing our runner so meticulously, because think about it, like most traders, they start seeing some stuff like this, they're going to exit like here, right? And that's probably where you would have exited that runner. But the way we traded it, we got at least a good point, 2 points better than their exit. And most traders aren't even going to hold through all this congestion. So I think it kind of helps your psychology knowing that, okay, I'm out on my runner. It is what it is. That's still a great trade. Um, and I don't even have to worry about, oh, should I hold this? Should I let it come back to the EMA? Dang, I'm gonna lose X amount of dollars if it pulls back to the EMA. Man, oh, I think it's actually gonna go higher. Should I what should I do? Right? I don't even have to think about any of that through here. I'm already out, and I covered most of the move. That's pretty solid. Um, Today it bounces, but when it looks like this, you're not so sure it's going to bounce, and you're just losing those couple points. So it's I don't know. I've been working on runners this week a lot, and so these videos, even though we have some new people watching I use these videos to sharpen my edge. So I'm really deep in this art. It's an art. That's how deep we are in this. Anyway, that's pretty much 8:40. That's the first 2 hours of the morning. It was a little tricky. I ain't gonna lie. I got caught up in here, and but everything else, and I got caught up in here. And it's funny because I didn't even take this trade during the day. I did not even trade this during the day. Um, so it's funny to get caught up on the review on a trade that you didn't even. It's weird sometimes. Um, but yeah, we kind of had a range and then we broke out. Let's just run through the rest. We kind of got a breakout and we started trending. Once we broke out of here, started making breakout pullbacks. Just make a trend channel off some of these areas and just keep buying off of that. You didn't really get a setup there. Really, it's just going sideways even up here. Another thing, even though we were looking at a trend, especially when you start seeing it go sideways up in here, never forget, sometimes just grab this arrow, measure the first half of the range, and then you'll see that this line gets us pretty close to where all this congestion started. So there might be resistance up in here. So, um, yeah, and see how we start to sell off. It um, wasn't as accurate, truth be told. We were running a little higher, but you can make that adjustment real time. And that's pretty much all we had. That's it. That's it. A little bit longer video. Hopefully, there's some value when I explain these really in-depth setups and the runner management. I'd much rather talk about more complicated ideas than here's the second entry and here's a high or low. I think Mac is the OG. So like if you're looking for that, I think he does a great job. I'm gonna keep trying to like I said, sharpen the edge with these videos. So that's what we're here doing. It's Friday. I need to watch these Lakers play. But until next week, man, y'all be safe. Y'all be blessed, and we'll be back. See y'all.